Welcome to the Coaches Cartel. This is where us trainers, coaches, and fitness professionals build our dream businesses. We are going to give you the tools, strategies, and methods so you get more clients, earn more money doing the work you love, and live with more freedom. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Welcome back to the Coaches Cartel podcast. I am your host, Josh Vago, here with the amazing Callum Robinson. Today, we're talking about a couple mistakes that coaches that we see typically make. So here's the thing. Both Cal and I are coaches ourselves. I've coached 15,000 coaching clients worldwide. Cal has, I think, like 300 team members building out his business as well. We've coached a lot of people, so we've actually made these mistakes ourselves. But I think if we can identify what the problems are that we're experiencing, we can actually start putting a plan in place to solve those problems, therefore getting you better results, more impact, income, and freedom. So Cal, as a guy that's in the trenches and has done this for years, what's a mistake that you see coaches make?
That was really professional, by the way. That felt like
that was like perfect, actually.
Like in TV shit.
It's kind of annoying.
I was like, I wouldn't listen to this guy. I probably would have clicked off the video by now. Righto, so we're gonna get 3 mistakes. So let's go through my first one. I think the very, very first mistake I would feel like most coaches made, which I made, was, believe it or not, posting content. Let me elaborate a little bit more. If you ever paid money to someone just to get told post more content, that scares me, because content has relevancy depending what you do with it. So mistake I made is I used to post all sorts of content. You know, like I'd take the photo, tell me if you can relate, take the photo of like the vegetables on the chopping board or whatever, and I'd do like a write-up on that, put it on my Instagram. Used to record stuff of me cooking, like it'd get some attention, whatnot, or like me training, all that sort of stuff. And I'd use that as content. I'd do these cool write-ups on them. I think that was going to get me traction to actually build my business. But what I realized was there's a couple of key points we need to really tick off with content, isn't there? How do we set authority? How do we solve a problem? And do we essentially have a clear call to action to something? Like, where are we directing those eyeballs? It's one thing to get the eyeballs, but where we direct them is super important. So the biggest mistake I made was posting content that was just irrelevant. So I guess my urge to a coach would be like, look at your content and does it generally clearly give someone value? Like, I think a good radar to do this, Josh, and tell me if you agree, is when I post a piece of content, even if it's just my personal Instagram, like a way I kind of audit it is, everyone says you shouldn't get caught up on likes and comments. Well, I kind of disagree. I kind of think, yeah, you should kind of get caught up with likes and comments. Being like, if I post something that's got a really articulate copy and it reads well, guess what I'm going to get? 20, 30 comments, because people are like, dang, man, I really relate to that. So like, engagement does actually mean that your content is working. So if you're just posting for the sake of it, or you're just in this consistent trend because you think that's going to build your business, nah, dude, like reassess. That's mistake number 1.
Dude, and I'm loving this. I'm just plugging in my computer. This is a one-take show. And I want to follow up on that, though, because, dude, that was a huge hang-up for me. And I actually have a couple of my original videos of, like, years ago. And they're absolutely pitiful. Like, the worst thing you would ever see in the world. Is content going to be perfect right away? Or do you think it's something to where, yes, you have the framework, but it's also going to take some repetitions for you to actually feel confident with?
Yeah, it's repetition.
So to the coaches out there that think their content has to be perfect before they actually send it out, dude, send it out. By the way, some of the pieces of content that I thought actually weren't that good, where I just got really insecure about, got the best response.
Yeah. Quick side note on that. When it comes to posting content, I still remember the one piece of content that did well for me, which I turned into an ad. And until I look back, I'm like, oh, that's really crap. But that produced my first 80 leads in the paid market space for it. And it was like me walking around, like holding my phone with a drain in the background. But it was just the content was relevant and it was value providing. So it gave a return.
Brilliant. How about we do this? For everyone watching this right now, you just heard Cal and I explain, hey, this is kind of what's important with content. This is the mindset of, hey, just put in the reps and you'll get better. Today, I challenge you, do an old school selfie walk and talk, just bullet pointing 3 teaching points about a topic that you feel you know a lot about or are really passionate about, and that would help your market. Okay. Do that today and post it.
Yep. And have a smooth call to action. Whether that call to action is to a free resource, whether it's to be in a chat with you. So if it's like, drop a DM if you're interested about XYZ I talked about, if you want to communicate that, or you directly off your program have some sort of smooth call to action to it as well.
There's your challenge. You know what to do. So now you can't look at Cal and I as the coach and say, I don't know what to do. Boom, there it is. We also have the battle-tested marketing strategy coming out, which is my newest podcast episode. So it's literally me walking you through, Cal. It's the 4P framework.
Yeah.
So it's even more detailed than we just went through. All right, cool. Point number one, phenomenal.
What's yours, dude? What's the second biggest mistake you feel most coaches make?
Oh my gosh. I would say they don't have technical training or confidence with the skill set of communication. It is very hard. And I've done 1,000 of what we call triages, which is like a free consultation with coaches this year. 1,000. So I've heard the same things over and over and over again. When coaches cannot sell, speak, and write, it just makes things very difficult. This is back to our teaching piece with content, right? Like if you can't effectively take your idea and your intention and transfer that to someone else, it literally does not matter how great your idea is or how smart you are or how many letters you have after your name in the form of a certification or degree. The communication is everything. And the lack of communication is what's creating the disconnect, which is creating the lack of results in marketing and sales and even coaching. My God, coaching with communication element inside the actual coaching program. I think that's underrated. Maybe that's something we could talk about more at a later point. But point number two, communication. I have, oh my gosh, you and I have done literally training sessions on how to communicate. That's probably from last year. Remember that? I think I was wearing the red shirt. I was in my old apartment. I was still an American. I was not a Balinese citizen yet. We have a couple of those. Chris and I did like a 40-minute webinar on how to sell. I've got the marketing podcast coming out. There's copywriting stuff that we've put out. There's no excuse. The information is out there. Send Cal or I a message. We're happy to direct you to those resources on how to communicate. But I will tell you this, if you can't communicate, it's literally going to cost you the business and life that you want. But if you have it, oh my gosh, you can literally do anything in the world.
And on a meta level, like communication, like if you don't have that, like you're going to suck at everything in life, to be honest, aren't you? Like, let's be real. If you can't communicate, you can't build social skill sets, relationships, friendships, all that sort of jazz. So it's like, if you're struggling with that backed up and you can't communicate, heck, before you even seek about starting to grow your coaching business, like learn that skill set. How do you learn that skill set? Literally put yourself in uncomfortable environments, communicate more, have difficult conversations. Like I know in Young Guys in my fitness coaching program, it's a whole module. It's 2 modules over 2 weeks is we go through communication skill sets. So you think about it, and we say, you know, I come up with that saying, heck, a couple of years ago, communication is the only leverageable tool when it comes to building an online fitness business. Reason being is it's leverageable because the better you get at it, the more you're going to create when it comes to attention, conversion, sales, and actual ultimate delivery. Like think about it. You could have the exact same message and how one person says it and how the other person says it, and one does it really well and one does it half-assed. Who's going to get more attention in the world? Simple. You know, so have a look at communication skill sets. How do you utilize your tonality, your pitch, your power, your pace, your eye contact? Do you gesture? Do you increase the speed or slow down the speed, depending on whatever it may be? You know. So anyway, number 2, communication. I like that, dude.
Amazing. Communication. All right. So we've got content. We've got communication. Give me another mistake. You've coached a lot of coaches, dude. We've seen quite a bit of volume of repetition with this. What's something that comes to mind here?
The next biggest mistake I see fitness coaches make is it's kind of like it's a double whammy. It's employing a team member too quick or employing a team member too slow. Like the speed of execution there is a very fine line. I've talked to some pretty smart people about this as well, because if you employ too quick, or you kind of your cash flow becomes negative, you haven't set the team member up properly for it to be able to create a return on investment or a return on time. Those are the 2 things you should always looking at. Is this going to make me more money or is it going to give me more time? You know? So if we do it too quick, we fail at both those things. But if we do it too late, we miss the opportunity or window to have the time to train the team member. Does that make sense? Like classic example, coach, I think like a coach I'm thinking about right now, like it's kind of around that 30, 35 client mark. And we were trying to position a team member in to give the time back to keep growing the business. But because the coach failed to execute so like quick enough, that bottlenecked it. And that bottlenecked it. So therefore, like crap, like the business is going to stuck because we can't have the time to get the team member to execute the task properly. So then you as the business owner get really frustrated and like, oh, they're not doing this properly. And it's actually our fault because we failed to create the space to grow it. Me personally, if I was to give like a real recommendation of what someone should do, at the end of the day, do what the hell you want, but a recommendation of what you should do is I would prefer to be on the side of I employed a bit too quickly than on the side of employ too late. Because like you think like so many people just get into like a money issue. They just think it's a money issue. And it's like, dude, you think the money issue is the bigger time until like you're on a 6-figure run rate and then you don't have time to get a team member and now you're just blasted. Like you actually have less fulfillment than when you're making less money more time. Guarantee every time.
That's the level I got to. I didn't pull the trigger fast enough. Because although my income was at the 7, the 9, the 13K a month at that point, I still had the mindset as if I was at 0.
Yeah.
And I was scarce and I was scared. And I totally regret that. I should have just pulled the trigger.
Yeah. I think, and that always comes down to the coach bit, like, or if you've got a mentor being able to really assess when that right time is. But if anything, I was pretty loose with employee. Actually, I've always been, you know, me, my risk level is like, doesn't exist. I just send it.
We're shooting from the hip with Coach Cal.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, let's go. No aim down sight, man. I'm just hip firing like crazy. I think, but what it allowed me to do as well, and this is something that people don't talk about as well, like when you employ a team member, the sense of responsibility it gives you, like it automatically increases your level. So if you're someone like me that like I've got ADHD, like everyone knows that, and I'm really sporadic and erratic with tasks. So there's certain things I do in my life that help me stay in my lane, so to speak. Having a team member was one of them. So even when my business wasn't in the most like cash flow positive state, what it helped and the bigger issue for me was my mentality and how I actually positioned myself as a leader and what I did with my time and tasks. So when I had that pressure there, it made me do business executions and like execute things that I needed to get done in order to fulfill a team member's role, fulfill my roles. And ultimately, guess what happened? We made more money.
You grew. That's a great message for a lot of people out there that might feel like they lost their spark or they lost their edge a little bit. A sign, at least for myself, I'll talk just for me for a second here. When I start to lose my spark, it's because I've lost sight of the responsibility that I have. Or I'm not taking on enough responsibility. So if it's just you, and like, that's what we were, Cal, we were, and still are, but we were young dudes that had no responsibility or real accountability to anyone else in our lives. I know when I hired my first VA, oh my gosh, it was now like, all right, now this is real. Now I need to perform so I can pay this person to feed their family.
Yeah.
That put some hair on my chest and I became a different animal because of it. And that's a really healthy thing. So maybe if you're feeling like you're a little bit low right now, I'll pop the question out there. Are you acknowledging the responsibility you already have to yourself, your family, and your clients? Or do you need to take on more responsibility and find that extra gear in yourself? Because I don't like letting myself down just because I signed these contracts with myself. That's enough to keep me going. But I really don't want to let the people down that I love and respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And dude, this is so important because everyone, and this comes down to like what is the micro or the macro risk that you're assessing. Because like, yeah, the micro risk is, I might not be able to afford my team member by the end of the month, whatever. Okay, sweet. But the macro risk is if you don't ever put that person in this scenario, you will never have the pressure and the want to be able to really push yourself 110% to be able to grow your business. Because that's sometimes like a lot of us need that. A lot of us need that pressure to be able to do it. Because you think about this, you never get that team member and you keep spinning your plates at like, trying to get 1 client a month or 2 client a month or like teeter-totter growth marks. Like it does not happen like that. Like you need to be in an environment where you're pushing for growth. And once again, if we want to build a 6-figure coaching business in under say 12 months or 12 to 18 months, dude, what work capacity do you think you're going to have to like do to get that? Like it would be silly not to have a team member to put some positive pressure and to make it a real thing for you to be able to put the work in. Because we've got the skill sets to do that these days. We've got not the skill sets, what's the word? ability to do it. We can get VAs
Yeah,
on
potential.
Yeah, potential.
Yeah.
To do that. Because it's like people work in marketing jobs and like corporate world for 10 plus years, man, to be able to crack 80,000 a year, 90,000 a year, 100,000 a year. And you want to build a 6-figure coaching business in 12 months? What capacity do you think you're going to have to work at? And Josh, like,
as a one-man band.
And like, dude, like you think about this, like if your payment for like your team member was coming up at the end of the month and you had 7 days to go to the team member, what do you think a coach that doesn't have that pressure versus one does have that pressure? What do you think the differences are, how they're going to work that week?
It's everything. 2 totally different people.
One coach wakes up in the morning, gets his coffee, cruises, hits a PT session. Content today. I'll post that tomorrow. That lead, I'll follow up. I'll probably try to do that Thursday, Friday, whatever it may be, you know? The coach that has 7 days, they've gotten up an hour earlier. They've hit their lead list. They've followed up. They've posted their IG. They've scheduled their sales calls for the week. They're looking for an opportunity to create a conversation every day around their program in the possibility of them selling so that they can afford a member for the following week, you know? Like that is the environment difference. And I think that's so amazing. So like biggest mistake people make is either not hiring early enough or hiring too late.
Brilliant. When you look at that over a long period of time, I heard Chris tell me this recently, and it was just so accurate. Valuable team members make you money. They don't cost you money. So I think when some people think of like a traditional assistant, they think it's someone that just brings them a coffee or a virtual coffee and just kind of strokes their ego. Like in a Hollywood movie, you ever see like the rich woman have her assistant and the girl just brings her clipboard and doesn't actually do anything? If someone is setting appointments, if someone is following up leads, they're directly driving revenue.
Yeah.
And those people make you money. They don't cost you money. Dude, brilliant. All right, we could keep going. We could go for a while here.
Yeah.
But get a team member at the right time. And if you don't, and if you're risk averse like me at the beginning and not willing to pull the trigger, the long tail effect of that is regret.
Yeah.
Which is quite possibly the worst emotion that you could experience because there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And we'll wrap this up. We'll keep this nice, short, and sweet. But I think next week, what we go through is let's do the top 3 things that you should do as a coach, or the top 3 things we did right. You know, I think that'd be awesome as well. Because there's, you know, with all the massive mistakes I've made with growing my business, like I have done some things right, which I'm proud of. So we can chat about that next week.
The yin to the yang. Thanks for being here, bro.
Epic break. Good jam with you.
If this really resonated with you and you know you need to get the plan that takes out all of the confusion so you know exactly what to do, you want the accountability so you're on track each day, and you want to get access to the answers of the questions that you have, then go to coachescartel.com/apply to reserve your free strategy call. This is where you have a quick chat with myself so we can find out exactly what your business needs to get more clients, more money, and you having the freedom that you've always wanted. This is the best way I can make sure you're a good fit and to make sure I can actually give you what it is that you need. All you need to do is go to coachescartel.com/apply to book in your free strategy session. Thank you so much for being here. See you in the next episode.